Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers Channel. Today, we will learn about the shocking transformation of Willow Tate from beloved nurse to Port Charles' most dangerous manipulator, and why. Michael Corinthos should be watching his back every single second. The streets of Port Charles have seen their fair share of villains over the decades. But what makes Willow Tate's descent into darkness so utterly chilling is how masterfully she's executed her crimes while maintaining the perfect facade of innocence. This isn't your typical soap opera villain who cackles maniacally in the shadows. No, Willow has weaponized the very qualities that once made her sympathetic: her vulnerability, her soft-spoken demeanor, her seemingly fragile emotional state, turning them into the ultimate shield against suspicion. Let's recap the nightmare that Port Charles is currently living through, shall we? Willow Tate didn't just shoot Drew Kane once in a moment of heated passion or self-defense. She methodically put 2 bullets in his back, then had the audacity to stand trial and convince an entire jury that she was the victim in the scenario. Those tearful testimonies, the trembling voice as she recounted her fear, the perfectly timed emotional breakdowns that had the courtroom reaching for tissues, all calculated. All part of a performance worthy of an Emmy. And it worked. Not guilty on all counts. Double jeopardy now protects her forever from facing justice for those gunshots, even if irrefutable evidence surfaces tomorrow. But here's where Willow's story takes an even darker turn, one that proves this wasn't a one-time crime of passion, but rather the emergence of a calculated predator. After walking free from the shooting charges, most people would lay low, maybe count their blessings and try to move on with their lives. Not Willow Tate. Instead, she looked at the man she'd once claimed to love her husband and decided he too needed to be silenced. The syringe she plunged into his neck while they were toasting to their supposed future together contained something that triggered a massive stroke, leaving him in what medical professionals describe as a locked-in state. It's a condition so horrifying that it belongs in psychological horror films rather than real life. Michael Corinthos stands alone against a monster. The weekly spoilers dropping hints about Willow playing dirty this Monday should send shivers down every viewer's spine. Because when someone has already committed attempted murder twice and faced 0 consequences, what exactly is stopping them from going for round 3? The answer, terrifyingly, is absolutely nothing. And the target this time appears to be Michael Corinthos, the father of her children, her former husband, and currently the only person in Port Charles who sees through her carefully constructed mask of victimhood. Think about Willow's situation from her twisted perspective for a moment. She's gotten away with shooting Drew. She's incapacitated her current husband. The court system has vindicated her publicly. Her reputation as a loving mother remains intact in the eyes of most Port Charles residents. But there's one significant obstacle blocking her path to complete victory. Michael won't stop questioning her. He won't stop warning people about what he knows she's capable of doing. He represents the single greatest threat to her continued freedom and her ability to maintain sole custody of Wiley and Amelia. What makes Michael particularly dangerous to Willow's plans is his position in the Corinthos family. He has resources, connections, and the kind of stubborn determination that runs in his bloodline. He's not going to simply accept the narrative that Willow is an innocent victim who was forced to defend herself. He's been connecting dots, gathering pieces of evidence that don't quite fit the official story, and making himself increasingly problematic for someone who needs everyone to believe her lies. The spoilers suggesting Willow makes a bold move right at the start of the week could mean anything in her expanding playbook of manipulation. Is she planting additional evidence to frame Michael for something? Perhaps she's already working on building a case that portrays him as an unstable ex-husband who poses a danger to their children. Maybe she's preparing to allege that Michael has been harassing or threatening her, creating a paper trail of false accusations that will undermine his credibility before he can expose her. The possibilities are endless and equally terrifying. Drew's living nightmare behind hospital walls. Meanwhile, in one of the cruelest twists of fate imaginable, Drew Kane lies in his hospital bed completely aware of everything happening around him but utterly powerless to warn anyone about the danger. Willow poses. His brain functions perfectly. He can hear conversations, understand what's being discussed, recognize faces, and process every word spoken in his presence. But the stroke has severed the connection between his conscious mind and his body's ability to respond. He cannot speak, cannot write, cannot even blink deliberately to communicate yes or no answers. He's trapped inside his own flesh, a prisoner witnessing his would-be murderer walk free while plotting her next move. Imagine the psychological torture of Drew's current existence. He remembers every single detail of what Willow did to him. The cold calculation in her eyes as she aimed the gun, the feeling of bullets tearing into his back, the moment of false security when he thought perhaps they could move forward only to feel the sharp sting of a needle in his neck. He heard her confession, her explanation of why he had to be eliminated. He watched her face as the toxins entered his bloodstream and his body began shutting down. Every second of that experience is crystal clear in his memory, yet he might as well be invisible for all the good that knowledge does him now. What's perhaps most diabolical about Willow's current position is that she can visit Drew anytime she wishes. As far as the hospital staff knows, she's the concerned friend, the woman who's been through so much trauma herself, coming to check on the man who survived such a terrible ordeal. They see her sitting by his bedside, holding his hand, speaking softly to him. They have no idea she's whispering her plans to him, taunting him with details of what she intends to do next, gloating over her complete and total victory. Drew has become her captive audience, forced to listen to every word while remaining eternally silent. The dramatic irony of Drew's situation would be almost poetic if it weren't so horrifying. Here is a man who's been through military operations, survived dangerous missions, navigated complex corporate intrigue, and overcome numerous life-threatening situations. Yet now he's been reduced to a helpless observer, unable to protect himself or warn others about the threat, living freely among them. It's the ultimate revenge from Willow's perspective, not just silencing him but making him watch as she continues her game. Dark DNA awakens in Willow Tate. For longtime General Hospital viewers, Willow's transformation shouldn't be entirely shocking when you consider her biological heritage. The genetic connection to Nella Benson, her deceased twin sister who terrorized Port Charles with her own brand of manipulation and violence, seems to be manifesting in ways nobody anticipated. Nell was a master of playing the victim while secretly orchestrating chaos. She could turn on the tears at a moment's notice, convince people she was innocent when she was anything but, and always seemed to be 3 steps ahead of anyone trying to expose her. Sound familiar? Then there's the maternal influence, not her biological mother Nina Reeves, but Harmony Miller, the woman who raised her within the toxic environment of the Dawn of Day cult. Harmony had her own history of eliminating problems quietly and efficiently. When Dr. Neil Byrne became an obstacle, Harmony didn't hesitate to use pharmaceutical means to remove him from the equation permanently. The methodology Willow employed with that syringe bears an unmistakable resemblance to Harmony's preferred techniques. Whether this is learned behavior from years of observation or something darker running through her DNA, the result is the same. Willow has become the perfect synthesis of Nella's manipulative genius and Harmony's cold-blooded pragmatism. The evidence that could change everything. But here's where things get interesting. Willow may have covered her tracks almost perfectly, but there are 2 wildcards she might not have accounted for, Kai and Trina Robinson. These 2 were at the scene when Drew was shot, and they heard something very specific, a distinctive Twinkle Twinkle Little Star ringtone that places Willow at the location during the critical time frame. So far, they haven't come forward with this information. Maybe they don't realize how significant it is. Maybe they're still processing what they witnessed. Or perhaps they're afraid of what might happen if they speak up against someone who just successfully manipulated an entire court system. The question that should be keeping Willow up at night is how long before Kai and Trina piece together the importance of what they know Port. Charles has a peculiar way of ensuring that buried secrets eventually claw their way to the surface, usually at the most dramatically inconvenient moment possible. And when, not if, but when, those 2 young people realize they're sitting on evidence that could finally expose Willow's true nature. Will they have the courage to speak up, or will Willow identify them as potential threats before they can reveal what they know? Michael needs allies right now more than ever. His warnings about Willow have largely fallen on deaf ears because he appears to be the bitter ex-husband who can't accept that his former wife has moved on. Everyone sees him as emotionally compromised, unable to view the situation objectively because of his personal feelings. But what if Kai and Trina provide the corroborating evidence that transforms Michael's accusations from jealous rantings into legitimate concerns? That ringtone could be the thread that, when pulled, unravels Willow's entire web of deception. The real genius of Willow's scheme is that she's positioned herself as beyond suspicion. She's the victim who was forced to defend herself. She's the grieving wife whose husband mysteriously suffered a stroke. She's the devoted mother fighting to protect her children from an unstable ex-partner. Every narrative she's crafted places her at the center as someone deserving of sympathy and protection, never scrutiny or investigation. But narratives built on lies have a tendency to collapse under the weight of truth. And Willow's house of cards has more cracks forming than she realizes. As we head into Monday's episode with spoilers teasing Willow's dirty tactics, the tension in Port Charles is reaching critical levels. Will Michael figure out her game plan before she executes her next move? Can Drew somehow find a way to communicate what he knows before Willow silences him permanently? Will Kai and Trina come forward with their evidence? Or is Willow Tate about to pull off the perfect crime sequence, eliminating every obstacle in her path while maintaining her innocent facade? One thing is absolutely certain: the sweet victimized nurse who first arrived in Port Charles is long gone. In her place stands someone far more dangerous, far more calculating, and far more ruthless than anyone could have anticipated. The villain era of Willow Tate is in full swing, and Port Charles may never be the same.